started. My God, amateur hour here. Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host today. Joining me is the amateur Brad Ganser, hater of the show, always a troll on our comment section.
To his credit, it is a hang, Jake.
It is a hang. Oh, you whipped that joke out in the first 10 seconds. Good for you, William. Welcome to the show, officially.
Thanks, Jake.
So good to have you.
It was a little tricky getting here, but glad to be here.
He literally shows up like, what, Maggie, 30 seconds before we go live? Like, you know, showing up 10 minutes early is good. Showing up 10 minutes after is good. Right when we're going live? Oh, man, I'll tell you what. We're professionals around here, though. We can roll with the punches. Joining me always is the political junkie, one of the political junkies, Maga Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm doing good. I think we got a lot to expose today, especially with the State Central, David Hann, and we got some interesting updates on that one.
Yeah, this is pretty much going to be the Maga Jesse show. But reading your comments, let us know where you're watching from, is none other than Minnesota's blonde baby Matt Walsh. We call him Straight-Laced William. How you doing there, buddy?
Why did I get excluded from the political junkies distinction there?
I don't know why. I'm not. I don't have these talking points in front of me. I'm not biting. I'm not reading from a teleprompter here. We own a teleprompter. We used it like twice before, and not on this show. Just so people know, this is not a script. This might come as a shock. This isn't a scripted show. Did you know that?
Well, Jesse has a script over there, but the rest
No,
of
I
us
got
were-
Jesse
Jesse does have notes. Show your notes to the camera.
No, people don't need to see my notes. My notes are my notes.
It's a madman. It's the old college-bound spiral notebook, and it's full.
Yeah.
That's what we love about you, Jesse. There's no other Jessies out there like you.
Yeah, well, I don't like computers. I don't like taking notes that way. The best way to remember anything is to write it down, piece of paper, pen in hand. So
I don't like
Old
computers.
school
I don't
also.
trust those computers.
yeah, you can't. Not anymore. Not
taking
anymore.
over the world.
Brad, introduce yourself and why you're on the show.
I have no idea why I'm on this show today, Jake. You just kept prodding me, so I decided to try to get here, and I was able to get here. So from Maple Grove, I ran for office once. I think that's how we got connected a long time ago. Retired candidate, just living and working and raising babies in Maple Grove.
And you were one of the people that we watched, like, the establishment go hard in the paint against. So you really got a bone to pick against the establishment.
Yeah.
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 Very simple. Run the dials, as always, is Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson, who said he wanted to work for the CIA but never did. Wink.
It's true.
You can't neither
is the
confirm or
story.
deny it. Maggie's off camera watching the show, but I want to give you a shout out, Maggie. Thanks for coming over to the studio today. I mean, this is a wild show. I mean, why not have Brad Ganser in here? He's always hating on us in these comment section, but he does put rumble rants in, so I can't hate you too much. Those are appreciated. And if you want to be a part of the show at any point, you can interrupt the conversation with whatever you want to say, whether that's a wine selection for Mr. William, or if you have something that's very important, just hit the rumble rant and we will read your comment live on the air. We'll try to get to everyone's. I don't think we know where we're going with the show, honestly, because this is breaking news. It was some point in the afternoon. No, we're not talking about lasers in the Maui wildfires. How dare you, Tucker? My God. This is the problem with
Not
having
just
a
any
comment section
lasers,
here.
it's the
I
Jewish
see it, and I'm
space
like,
lasers.
that is
Easily distracted.
Yeah.
Right?
yes. We're not going there because it's not true. Alex Jones said it was just lighter. And we know he wouldn't lie.
I don't know.
Because that Maui thing from day one kind of seemed there's something more to that story, you know. But anyhow, we don't have time to get into that. What do you got?
Oh, I just want to shout out to Dover Dan's comment there. I got to meet William and Jesse at State Central meeting. Yeah, we did get to meet you, Dover Dan. I see you changed your profile picture to your motorcycle. Very cool. So yeah, good to see all you guys.
Awesome. All right, so some point yesterday, I want to say it was early afternoon, Reuters reported that the indictments had been handed down, and there was a document available, at least to them, and then it was
Right.
scrubbed off the internet. What is
Right.
that story? Because
I don't
we
know
didn't find
either.
out until late last night.
No, I heard the same thing, that all of a sudden the docket gets posted up on the Fulton County website. People start looking into it. People start digging into it. Then Fulton County retracts it, says that it's a fake document. Sounds like it wasn't approved by the jury, so I'm not exactly sure who was leaking that. But it sounds like, people were going a little fast, and They wanted to get it out there, and it seems pretty sketchy though that they were, putting this kind of information public without it being approved by the jury, without it being fact checked at all.
No, what's crazy here is I think Fulton County was expecting Trump to be indicted before the jury actually did it, which is the insane part. Because they posted it, clearly accidentally, they took it down, but they already had it ready to go.
Yeah, the jury wasn't even, it was still meeting. I think they were hearing from witnesses. They
Right.
hadn't voted.
Right, and then even in this new version.
By the way, I should say grand jury. Big distinction.
Well, right, and even in this new thing that's been released, even in the new version, it lists out all the names of the grand jury members. I've never seen any kind of indictment or any kind of court proceeding, especially of this magnitude, that would list out the jury members, because all of a sudden we're going to see these jury members, they're going to be confronted by people on both sides, and it's not a smart move to have those names public.
What I want to do is, in case people, because I know a lot of you guys have probably been busy. This broke, I think it was like 8, 9 o'clock last night. It was late, right? This was late that it broke. So I don't want to just rehash too many things that you're probably hearing from other media sources, because then what's the point in us, right? But in case you didn't catch this, this is a criminal indictment. It's 98 pages. Fulton County, which is like basically the heart of Atlanta. What's unique about this is it's not just Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, I think, roughly 13 counts of this, but there's like 90-some counts. There's a bunch of other defendants here. Rudy Giuliani was explaining to these youngsters today how, because you'll know what I'm talking about, Brad. I mean, Rudy was like, America's mayor.
Yeah.
Right? Like this was like
Sorry,
a hero.
You think the political junkies didn't know who Rudy Giuliani was?
No, but you were just saying that, like, you don't know the Giuliani we know.
I actually wasn't here for this conversation.
That's right. I'm thinking of Dawson. You're the same age as Dawson. But regardless, when were you born?
2000.
So you were in diapers when, I know, right?
2000.
2000. Yep. So,
I'm actually the youngest one here, I think.
yeah, I think so.
Hence the name Baby Walsh.
Baby Walsh.
Yep.
So he was like America's mayor, and then it's just like now he's being criminally. And by the way, he was a prosecutor too, a federal prosecutor. He's listed on here. Mark Meadows, former chief of staff to Donald Trump, a bunch of other people, including Jenna Ellis. Is Jenna Ellis the one that's working with?
Yeah, she's the one that's supporting DeSantis. So, I mean, how's that for irony that they're coming after a DeSantis person as well? It shows that, anyone that's attached to Trump in any kind of way, the crimes that they're coming at him with this, with the RICO charges, treating Trump and the Trump organization and the Trump campaign as if it's some sort of mafia thing. Then I was reading through everything that was listed out, all of the acts within this indictment here, and almost all of it has nothing to do with Georgia. It's saying this about Arizona, this about Pennsylvania, this about Michigan, but where is it talking about Georgia? And I haven't finished reading through it yet. Obviously, it's going to, but they're using all of these things that have nothing to do with it. And you should see the evidence they got. It says Trump says go watch OAN to see the Georgia
tweets it.
election. Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's not a big deal. He's telling people to watch an election integrity committee. How dare he?
Yeah.
How is that illegal at all? It's a joke.
So, and then Sidney Powell too, which a lot of people recognize that name.
I forgot about her.
You forgot
the
about
Kraken.
Yeah, the Kraken.
Right. Count 1, violation of the Georgia RICO, which is Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. That's why we called this show, the name that we gave it, I think it was Trump charged with mafia crimes. That's what they use for the mafia. That's what RICO charges are. Now, apparently in Georgia, it's easier to prove than like federal charges. This one was interesting to us. Solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. I'm going to repeat this, okay? This is hilarious. Solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. We go, what the hell is that? We were reading a Fox 5 or whatever Atlanta Fox affiliate is that said explanation of the charges against Trump, and they didn't bother to explain this one. Like, before, we couldn't figure this out. Like, what the hell is this charge? So when you read it, it's actually two different things brought together. So let me try to put my lawyer hat on here for a second. Under Georgia law, it is a violation It's a criminal violation to go against your oath of office. Yes, that is funny, right? That's funny because you're like, don't they all go against their oath of office, right, to the Constitution?
Yep.
Let's go to section. Dawson, pull up F7. Let's do F7. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So this is what the Georgia Code 16-10-1 says. Any public officer who willfully and intentionally violates the terms of his oath as prescribed by law shall, upon conviction thereof, be punished by imprisonment for not less than 1 nor more than 5 years. I looked this up. Minnesota doesn't have a law like this. If they had a law like this, one could allege basically everyone in the legislature by the passage of omnibus bills, which clearly violates the Constitution, are in violation of that law. I didn't know this was on the books anywhere. Because essentially, what's the recourse to people violating their oath? You throw them out of office, right? Here, you can throw them into prison for 5 years in Georgia. So, and we didn't have enough time, but I would love to find out the history of that law. So, but that's not necessarily what Trump is being charged with because he's not a public official in Georgia. So you got to match that with, go to the next line here, Dawson. Criminal solicitation. So you see what they're doing is they're taking two different laws and pulling them together. Georgia law on criminal solicitation, and this is 16-4-7. A person commits the offense of criminal solicitation when, with intent that another person engage in conduct constituting a felony, he solicits, requests, commands, and importunes, or otherwise attempts to cause the other person to engage in such conduct. So they're basically saying he's soliciting a public official to commit a crime. I am very curious if anyone in the history of Georgia has been criminally charged for those two things connected. You could understand like someone's been criminally charged for solicitation of, theft or something like that, right? You solicit other illegal act, right? Maybe solicitation of fraudulent acts or something like that. But solicitation of a public official basically going against their oath off, has that ever been charged anywhere, especially in Georgia? So when people say this is all political, and everyone I think at this point realizes the Manhattan one, no one talks about the Manhattan indictment, right? The first one,
Right.
because they realized that was ridiculous. They're literally stretching the laws. This one seems like they're stretching the laws, and I'm not saying this is one charge. This is count 2, and then they got false statements and writings. Count 5 is solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. Count 6. Count 9 is conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer.
Yeah.
By the way, that's the other thing that they do in this entrapment stuff. They just say conspiracy to ... right?
Yep.
Like they're very creative with the laws. It's the old saying, show me the man, I'll show you the crime, right? And everyone knows the man here, and we know there's a lot of people that don't like the man, and so they're showing them the crime. I think they should have a conspiracy to solicit a violation of oath of office by a public officer. Why didn't we come up with that one? That would have been a good one. They didn't actually solicit, but they was conspiring to solicit that. What else did you find in this indictment? Sorry, I'm dominating the conversation here.
Yeah,
but it's
no, I
so
mean,
insane to me.
It is crazy, and from my research of just a little bit that I've done so far into this thing is that the Georgia RICO laws are stricter, that they have more leverage, and that they can, which I think allows the prosecutors to abuse the law a lot more. It sounds like defense attorneys are against a lot of the statutes that were in there, and I do believe it was passed by a lot of the rhinos in Georgia. But one thing I was just thinking, couldn't it be possible if the shoe was on the other foot? Couldn't we say that Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State of Georgia, should be charged with these RICO crimes? Because we could say, well, look at what this guy did. He certified a fraudulent election. If the shoe was on the other foot, which I don't think we would ever do because as, conservatives, as liberty people, we don't want to lock people up. But
That's actually a really interesting point because there's two sides of that coin, right?
Right, exactly. And you
Yeah.
would think that, which is the biggest reason for why a lot of these problems are all political, this stuff isn't really criminal. This is all just, trying to politically damage Trump. It's the 100th indictment, whatever it is now. But
let me play this out. That's a really interesting way that you put it, right? Because of course the media has already made up their mind that the election was fair and not stolen
Right.
at all. Every other election Republicans have won have been fraudulent. Russia. But this one was the most fair election ever, even though it was 80% of people could mail in ballots without a witness. The best election ever run because Donald Trump got thrown out of office.
Yep.
So if we don't know the truth, was this a fraudulent election or not, right? We don't know. Mm-hmm. So there's two sides of the coin.
There's pieces of evidence that indicates it
Right.
is. There's all the videos of people in Georgia stuffing the ballot boxes. There's, the videos of people hiding the ballots underneath tables. All of a sudden, they come out. The pipe burst. The pipe burst, and everybody's got to leave. Nobody
So
can
crazy.
stay here. But all of a sudden, the Democrat vote counters, they're able to stay there and keep counting votes and putting ballots through the machine 3 times in a row. So you're right that unless we're the Georgia Secretary of State, unless we're Brad Raffensperger, we probably don't have the evidence to be able to prove whether or not the election was stolen or not. But there's a lot of evidence that indicates it, and based on the way that they treat Trump and the reason they never allowed us to really see any of this evidence presented in courts, it makes me believe, just because I'm distrustful of government, that they're lying to us and that Trump is probably right.
So you would think that the defense is going to try to enter that into the record here, and maybe the state will try to not allow that to be entered as evidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was curious. I was wondering if the state would be able to interfere in this and try to, because what was it that Keith Ellison did to
Hit a woman?
no, Mary
Hit another
Moriarty? Is that the Hennepin County attorney?
He took over control.
Right, he took over the case. I'm wondering if there's any kind of opportunity for the Georgia Attorney General to consider steps like that. I'd like to see it happen.
What do you say, Brad?
I was going to say, wasn't the whole basis for this another perfect phone call where he had? I mean, because at the
Even
time,
more
Trump,
perfect than the president of Ukraine.
Yes, Trump's
A
asking
lot of perfect calls I made. This is a perfect one too.
because Trump was asking him to go find 11,000 votes. But if you think about it in the context when we're all seeing those videos of black totes being pulled out from underneath,
Yeah.
whatever happened with those? We never.
Never get the
It's just
follow.
all-
The media has no
It just-
appetite to go look into this stuff.
Well, and also, they completely put Trump out of context in the phone call,
100%.
because if you listen to the full thing, which the full phone call is out there, anybody can go and listen to it and hear it for themselves. But Trump was saying, he listed out a few different things. He was saying, according to my numbers, this many dead people voted, this many illegal aliens voted. He went through a whole list of things that totaled to be 50,000 votes or whatever he was claiming. So really, he was saying, of those 50,000 fraudulent claims, you got to be able to find 11,000. So that was the point that Trump was making. But yeah, I agree that they're using the phone call as an example of what they want to do to him.
So Rico, basically what they're alleging here is Donald Trump's the mob boss, right?
Yeah.
Now there might be literally some credible charges here down the stream, right? Like there might have been actors inside of I don't even know what you want to call it. They're going to try to allege it's one big criminal organization. Trump's the head of it.
Yep.
It's a little ridiculous. A lot of people were feeling bad about the selection. Some people were doing things that were unethical.
On their own volition.
On their own volition. They're going to try to connect that to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, as the president of the United States at that time, he's still running the military. He's still got a very important job. I'm pretty certain he's not getting into the weeds and minutia. And that's one of the problems, I think, of charging a mafia boss is, can you tie the hit back to the mob boss, right? But they seem to want to do that with Donald Trump, and it's insane. And in Georgia, apparently, not a legal expert, it's much easier to do this, which would even be more problematic because he's probably innocent of that charge.
Well, and I look at it, there's all of these unindicted co-conspirators. That
Right.
makes me question what's going on there. Why are they all unindicted? Why do we not get to know the names? And it makes me think, are they the ones who actually did something guilty? And it makes me wonder, are they cooperating or are they co-opted? I imagine maybe these people are co-opted, these unnamed, unindicted co-conspirators, because obviously Fani Willis must think that she's working with them. Maybe they're giving up intel. Maybe they're doing something, but it makes me think for various reasons that they maybe they did something wrong.
So here's where this is the twist of the whole story, in my opinion. This is Georgia indictment. Okay, we're learning a lot about Georgia law real quick. This is so fascinating. Did you know anything about Georgia law before this? Right? I actually lived in Georgia for about 6 months back in the Army. So, although I would have been under UCMJ, I was full-time military. So
Is that when you're doing infantry training?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess technically I lived in Georgia longer too, because basic and AIT.
Right.
But I actually lived there at Fort Benning, says Bad Hat Harry, infantry officer basic course. That's all done in Fort Benning, Georgia, by Columbus, Georgia. So I didn't know much about Georgia crime, but Georgia statutes and laws and stuff like that. Once again, I never knew that you could go to prison for 5 years for violating your oath of office. What a fantastic! I think that's a great law. That's wonderful. We should have that here in Minnesota. Boy, would that change behavior? I don't know. I'm just guessing a lot of these people have never been charged on that, because these politicians always violate their oath of office all the time.
Well, the problem is it's open to interpretation what violating your oath of office means.
When the Minnesota Constitution says all bills must be single subject, and that subject expressly written in the title, and you pass bills that don't have that,
but when the courts
there's no
rule,
shut up, David Hand. There's no other.
I was gonna get to a point,
There's no
but-
other interpretation. You are violating your oath of office. That is a clear violation of the oath of office. You can't do that, right? So I don't need your omnibus love language.
Well,
there.
when the courts say it, like, who do you have? Like, then you have the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court says it's okay, what do you do? You know what I mean?
no, Ken, and none of this stuff has actually ever gone up the courts. Like, this is so unprecedented, right? Like
You talking about in the Georgia? Or you talking about
everything.
omnibus
Yeah,
bills?
well, basically all of them. How about the? Let's see, which indictment was that? Indictment 3, the the Washington D.C. one, which is just a pure violation of First Amendment rights, where they're alleging Trump. Is anyone else getting indictment fatigue here? Like,
Yeah, it's
we
a little
started out the
ridiculous.
year and no former president's been charged with a crime, and now we have 4 indictments: Manhattan, Florida, which is probably their best case against them, but he gets the best jury there. Then you get D.C., which is just clearly unconstitutional what they're doing there, and number 4 now, Georgia.
Now, if he gets a 5th set of indictments, I heard that he gets a get out of jail free card.
I think he gets a free Subway sandwich, actually.
Set of steak knives.
Yeah, right.
So is it any coincidence, though, that we're hearing at the same time they're suspending reality to run up these charges against Trump? That yesterday you heard a renewed push to get rid of Clarence Thomas and pack the court? Because they know that if Trump loses these and he takes it to the Supreme Court, they are not going to be upheld.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wonder too, and we'd have to trust these Supreme Court justices that they're going to do the right thing. I imagine that, Scalia and Clarence Thomas, and there's a couple of people on there that, have, been there for decades that doing the right thing. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if, the Trump appointees have Trump's back in the end.
Where's John Roberts going to fall on this stuff?
Yeah,
Oh, I know, right?
I think he's going to go against Trump. I think
But they don't even need John Roberts.
be a
That's the
5-4,
interesting
yeah.
thing. So you think George Soros money then goes to funding those busloads of Antifa and Supreme's driveways?
Oh, without a question.
Right?
Without a question.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do again. Trump is collecting indictments like Tom Brady is collecting Super Bowl rings, says Tucker. Yeah, fair point, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's good
And
for
and they both
fundraising,
cheated.
too.
Yeah.
And they both cheated. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
I'm not a Tom Brady hater, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, one of the best quarterbacks ever. Probably, he's called the GOAT because of the Super Bowl rings. I still kind of think Peyton Manning, maybe. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah.
Don't have any hot
Says
takes
the
there.
Bears fan.
Well, clearly we did. We have one Hall of Fame quarterback, Sid Luckman. I mean, no one knows who the heck that is because it's an era where the quarterbacks really weren't the modern day quarterbacks. We
Yeah,
suck
you've
at-
dated everyone in the room, by the way.
Yeah, whatever, Brad.
Do want to recognize Byron of Sidious. This is his first time catching the program live, which is nice. He's wanted to catch at least one of these as a fellow Minnesota resident.
Thank you,
Everyone
Byron.
welcomed him in the comments. Thank you. It's
Appreciate
always fun getting more people on the live stream. The live stream is where we have the most fun, I think.
Yeah. Most people watch our show after the fact, but it's fun to do this live. I'm starting to think, and there's just no way we could do it. I'd rather do the show late at night, like 8 o'clock.
I think we should do like a special edition.
We will.
Every week.
Well, I don't know if every week. Yeah.
I think we should.
No, you don't have kids, right? This is the problem. I got kids sports and stuff like that. I can't.
Well, 1 o'clock's not a great time either for me. So
Yeah, okay.
just put that on your notes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just glad you could come here. So this is the tricky thing about Georgia law. Going back to that, it turns out. So this is Georgia prosecution. If he is convicted of this crime, Fulton County, not a Trump county. Do you know what the stats were election-wise in Fulton County?
I don't know.
Well, it's Atlanta, Georgia, so it's
yeah, I
the
figure
bluest
it's
part of
probably
the state.
80-20 or so.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like Minneapolis, pretty much.
Yeah. And then what other Republicans that live there, right?
Yikes, yeah.
So if he gets convicted in Fulton County, there's a minimal requirement of prison for 5 years, and the governor of Georgia, if he wanted to pardon Trump, couldn't pardon Trump, and because it's a state crime, Trump can't pardon himself. Now let's play this out. Trump gets elected as president, because right now, if you just look at the numbers, Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States. Okay? He's going to win the election. That's what the numbers suggest, especially assuming Biden is the candidate. And God, you only imagine what they would have to do, a war maybe to unify the country over Biden. I don't know what they could do to unify over Biden. Biden is basically on vacation right now during the Maui fires.
Yeah, they're trying with Ukraine to unite it, but so allegedly, according to the fake Georgia results of the 2020 election, Trump got 26.2% in Fulton County. Yikes. So that means.
Wait, sorry, what was that?
Trump allegedly got 26.2% of the vote in Fulton County. So that means that that means that maybe a quarter of them voted for Trump. So maybe there's some hope in one of the jury members or something. Maybe someone's got some sense. But I'd imagine that Fani Willis isn't going to let anyone on the jury unless they're going after Trump.
This is just such uncharted territory. Like, it shouldn't have to come down to political affiliation when it comes to these jury trials.
Yeah.
That's why it's so, he's not being tried in a jury of his peers. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, right.
The only one where he is in Florida. I guess you could argue D.C.
Yeah, not
Actually,
really,
not anymore, though. Not anymore. Yeah. So it's really just Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I was talking about Biden. He needs like a disaster to go up in the polls. So this is from Yahoo News. President Joe Biden's been slammed for his response to Hawaii wildfires as he appeared to make some dismissive remarks and has no plans to visit the beleaguered state.
Yeah, he said no comment when he was first asked about it.
Correct, yeah. So after spending a couple of hours relaxing on the beach in Delaware on Sunday, Mr. Biden was asked about the rising death toll in Hawaii, to which he simply replied no comment, sparking fury about it from his political rivals.
Yeah.
So he's.
But if you're Joe Biden, he doesn't have to worry about Hawaii. Hawaii always votes Democrat. He's probably just thinking, I got other things to deal with.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So right now, Trump is the leading candidate for the president of the United States. So let's just play this out here. We're closing in on just a little over a year away. How crazy does that sound? By the way, this is for a crime that happened 2.5 years ago. How do you even act like this isn't political? It's right in the middle of election season. This is the heart of election. This is where you get the team going. When's the first debate?
If it was a crime, they would have charged within the first few months after.
Yeah.
After the election. That's when they would have charged. They would have charged after January 6th and whatnot. They wouldn't be doing it right now while Trump is running again. It's obviously political.
Did you see that the DA wouldn't respond to a question by the press about if she had spoken to Jack Smith?
No.
Yeah.
So you think she did? It does seem like they're all kind of corroborating and putting it all together. They're all just different pawns of the Democrat establishment.
Oh man, I get no love anymore. I'm the first one to go after Trump, but no one even talks about me anymore. Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
Well, they would never be charging him if he wasn't running.
Yeah, of course.
Right, it's obvious.
Well, and even the Democrats suggest that the commentators on the left, they all say, maybe we can make a deal that if Trump doesn't run, we can drop the charges. It's like that's why he's running. Because the system's broken and they target their political enemies.
Jesse, you're up on this. is it possible Stacey Abrams is one of the unindicted co-conspirators?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean,
Why
she's
wouldn't they
just as
charge
good.
her? I mean, she's
That's
been
true.
demanding
She's an
all of
election
these
denier.
people. She's been all over these folks about the lack of
Yeah.
fairness in her election.
Yeah, and in Georgia.
Yeah.
It was in Georgia too. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why she wouldn't be listed as one of these co-conspirators.
I would
Because
think that would be Trump's defense, is just play her clips.
yeah, right.
This is this is Trump.
Yeah, that's what I do.
This is Trump last night responding via True Social. So the witch hunt continues. 19 people indicted tonight, including the former president of the United States, me, by an out of control and very corrupt district attorney who campaigned and raised money on "I will get Trump." This is actually, it's really interesting when you think about his messaging from the get-go about the witch hunt and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if it's all coordinated to help Trump politically, right?
Well, they're playing into his hand
They're
for
playing
sure.
completely in his hand here.
Mm-hmm.
You can't look at this and not think this is all political.
I think they're so dumb that I think they think that Trump is playing into their hand, but really all they're doing is helping Trump, especially in the primary. And we've talked about before, the majority of people in this country believe it's political. So the majority of people see through what's going on. And, I think it's just kind of showing the American people, especially, criminal justice minded people, even, they're starting to realize, hold on a second, this is a corrupt system. Even Trump is subject to this corrupt system. So I think 2024 is going to be almost a landslide.
It feels like it's falling back into his wheelhouse like 2016, where everybody was just throwing arrows at him, and he took out one Republican at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Were there 19 of them?
Right.
It was,
And then the
thing of
last
beauty.
one who finally opened his mouth was Kasich.
Yeah,
And he
that's
threw it
right.
away.
Yeah. Because, Kasich said he wasn't going to do any
Yeah,
of
every
that.
time one step forward, they got knocked out.
Yeah.
My wife was asking me this morning. She's like, "Why are they doing this like to him?" And I'm like, "That's a good point, because Trump really is not a big, strong conservative, right? He literally was a Democrat. I know you kind of have to be that way in New York, apparently, but he's not like some strong conservative. He's really a populist. The Democrats could have got things from this guy." So there is literally something about Trump that scares the shell out of him.
Well, and especially on immigration, Trump was willing to negotiate there for the wall. He was willing to,
He likes to negotiate.
Yeah, no, and
Making
exactly.
Deals. Yep.
But he was willing to offer citizenship for some of the dreamers, willing to do partial deals on things. He just wanted a wall, But the left and the rhinos always say, "Oh, he said that Trump said Mexico's going to pay for it." It's like, we all knew that Mexico wasn't directly going to pay for the wall. Everybody knew that, and Trump got Mexico to bring military to the border.
28,000 troops.
Yeah, exactly.
He tells that story all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, between that and the trade deal, it's like Trump did quite a bit to get something out of Mexico for what are we doing now? Just letting them all flow in. So it's crazy.
Let's play this out real quick. So he gets convicted. Let's say he wins the presidency. He's the favorite right now to win the presidency in November of 2024. And then he's either convicted before or he's convicted afterwards. I think they want convictions right before the election, right?
Yeah.
If they go their way, because otherwise it's going to give him a boost. But let's say he gets sentenced after the election. What the hell is going to happen?
Yeah, we don't know. It's uncharted
We
territory.
do not know.
Mm-hmm.
We do, because obviously the federal charges, well, he can't pardon himself till he's the president.
You got to assume that the Democrats operate in some realm of political reality, though. If they continue trying to put Trump in jail when he's the elected president, how does that look for them?
Did you just really say that?
No.
When he's
What you
president of
said
the
made
United
sense
States,
10
though.
years ago, William. It really did. It
Like,
doesn't
what is
make
going
sense these
on
days.
right now?
It's crazy. They are playing with fire here. Now, this is the thing about Trump. Trump would be so screwed if he wasn't so beloved by a huge faction of supporters, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about it. The Jessies of the world, they really love Donald Trump, okay? What do you think's going to happen when you don't allow him to take office?
That's it.
That's
We had a good
violence.
Mm-hmm.
I always said this. I'll say it again. We know the left is violent. The left has been very violent for a long time. Of course, they take a little bit of hiatus sometimes when they have the presidency, But let's be honest, the left is violent. You got to be cautious about when the right becomes violent. And they're playing with fire on this one.
Yeah, they're provoking us.
They're
You know,
100%
they
provoking
keep
you.
poking the bear, and it's just like, you don't realize this bear's about to bite you. So, you know,
Right.
I think the establishment, I think that, you know, obviously they don't have any kind of respect for common people. And if they want to keep disrespecting us, which more and more people, I see more people becoming not necessarily conspiracy minded, but just more skeptical of the government and power. And, you know, I think that more and more people are just getting fed up with the entire system. And, yeah, no, I agree with what we're saying here, though.
Well, I don't know what we're saying. I'm just saying that it's this uncharted territory that's so dangerous to the United States. So, first of all, if you prohibit him from becoming the president of the United States, who's leading the military? How's that going to go? Who's leading the Justice Department? Who's making the political appointees? Like, what literally is going to happen here? They are literally playing with fire for things that are real stretches. Donald Trump's the head of a criminal organization. Come on. That's ridiculous. The only case to me that I can understand makes sense is he mishandled classified information, pretty much like all the others. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Mike Pence, right? Okay?
Yeah, I don't agree you mishandled them.
Well, that's what I could understand him doing that. It's tricky in his case because he was the president. He could declassify documents. That's a trickier part about him than Hillary Clinton, which got off scot-free. But here's the deal. It's like, how on earth can you go throw these books at Donald Trump that are literally like you're creating laws here? I've never heard of such a thing. Solicitation of violation of oath of a public official. And we're going to throw him in prison for these things. and not even really directly because he oversaw a criminal organization that did that. It's utterly ridiculous. So I've been worried about the future of this country for a while now, but this one is in particular because there literally is no remedy here by Trump. They would literally throw the book. Actually, don't we know right now that like the sheriff wants to get a mugshot of him? Like this whole thing
know.
seems political.
Oh, but that's going to be great for Trump.
Why do you say that?
Are you kidding me? You plaster that mugshot all over TV.
Yeah,
It's a great campaign.
The left
It's
would
a
also
great
use it.
fundraising
Yeah,
tool.
yeah, exactly.
But the left would also use it. The left would use it against him. They'd say
Yeah.
the fact that he
Right.
has this mugshot out there is proof that he's
Well,
guilty.
and that just shows that we live in two radically different Americas
Yeah.
today. Like, there are different people in New
Yeah, there's
York.
different
who-
realities.
Right,
Well,
right.
the only way
exactly.
these
What do people think? Go to the comment section here. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Finish
the only
that.
way these things stick, though, is if you put money behind it. It's, that's politics 101. It's like you have to be able to amplify it, and they have the money to do so. That's why it's a problem for Trump.
Yeah.
Back to your other point, though, I don't know if I ever see conservative America getting violent. I just really don't.
100% they will.
I don't see
Well,
it.
you certainly saw that on January 6th because there were some idiots that were threatening and actually committing violence against Capitol Police. Those are the people that should
Were
be thrown
those
in
the
jail.
feds that were in the crowd?
Well, we've gotten
Some
into
of
that in
them.
the show, but I'm saying there's legitimately idiots who did that against the Capitol Police that day,
I'm
right?
not saying there's not violent conservatives in the world. That
Right.
would be silly. But I just don't see a mass, I just
Take
If they
over,
don't
yeah.
allow the person that was duly elected to take office, you don't think that ends in violence? How does that not end in violence? That's not a peaceful. The whole thing they were accusing Trump of is we need a peaceful transfer of power, and they're actually literally obstruct. Trump didn't obstruct the peaceful transfer of power. Oh, he didn't attend the inauguration of Joe Biden. Oh, where? He's not in office. Biden became president.
Well, yeah,
you guys are literally trying to obstruct this.
Well, you're right too, because obviously he respected the whole process because he left.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know, that kind of crumbles the whole narrative, doesn't it?
Yes,
That he got
you
on the
can
plane and left.
understand.
Unlike the Clintons, when they left, they stole half the damn furniture.
Yeah, right.
And the W's off the keyboards.
yeah.
Yeah.
Were they ever prosecuted for theft? No.
Yeah, I forgot about the W's. What was the thing behind that? So he can't
George
say
W.
George W. Bush. Is that why?
That's actually kind of fun.
Is that like a little hazing though?
Yeah.
Is that hazing?
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they like pop off. Do you think that was hazing though? Like just a little funny?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him credit. What do people say here?
So Tucker says Civil War, but it's not blue versus gray like the 1860s. It's going to look more like Syria or Yugoslavia. Byron of Sidious says, that's a very Tim Pool take, Tucker, but I don't disagree. I think he meant that in like an insulting way. Billy,
I like Temple. Temple's interesting because he doesn't come from traditionally political routes.
Yeah.
Certainly not on the right side, but his takes are a lot more conservative these days.
well, he's like a Wall Street lefty who, what was the Wall Street thing? What's that called?
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. And now he's like, a lot of his takes are very conservative. It's interesting. Billy 22 says, continuity of government, devolution, somebody had to say it. And Tucker says that Tim Pool's bald.
Why do you read those comments?
Was there one that you were eyeing that you wanted
No,
to read?
I'm just curious. Like, I was part of the conversation. We don't need a discussion on Tim Pool.
Over on YouTube, Noel Vick says that he is president of the Brad Ganser fan club.
Fishing buddy.
Jamie,
I was
So
gonna say,
I was telling him as I'm trying to get here to get my 2 minutes of show prep.
the hottest.
He's like, I'm going on, and he's like, "Where's it at?" And I'm like, because he's a YouTube guy.
Yeah.
He says,
We're on YouTube, though.
Well, I know his comment was, "It doesn't look like it's going to crash on YouTube."
Yeah.
Not a lot of views.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. YouTube. Yeah. We stopped pushing YouTube.
Yeah,
We
I'm
still,
surprised Noel doesn't get on Rumble though. He'd enjoy it.
Well, we have to. Like, we had to make the decision 6 months ago where you're going to push the audience, and you got to push them on Rumble. YouTube is literally. We had 3 strikes. No, we never had 3 strikes because that's when they take it down. 2
Yeah.
strikes, they suspended us. So yeah, we had to.
Yeah,
we had
once
to do
once
that.
the election picks up again, once the general election is underway, YouTube is going to be censoring a lot more. But in the
Right.
Yeah.
meantime, they don't care if
Do we know
say
what the banned speech is going to be going forward?
probably election
it's
stuff again. I'm
trans
sure
stuff.
that they're going to say we can't say the election was stolen, even though YouTube allows it now. So
Yeah.
can't get in trouble for it now. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure we probably won't be able to say that Biden has dementia. I'm sure that we won't be able to talk about the Ukraine war. I don't know. But yeah, I could imagine a lot of censorship coming.
They're about
I knew
to,
you'd be able to answer that right away, Jesse.
Well, and it's also sad that on YouTube, because we do a live show, they have a different tab for live, so it's harder to find the video if you go to our channel.
Yeah.
But I think we only get like a couple hundred views on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we had to do that. And by the way, every time we started getting, like, it was kind of funny, we would start getting more and more views, and then the next strike came. It's like they purposely were trying to do that. And I bet that's happened to more than just us.
Tucker asks, how do we join the Brad Ganser fan club?
Go ahead and put a Rumble rant down, $10 Rumble rant. We don't have a Rumble rant today because we got to get into this subject. You guys are going to love this.
There's a secret handshake.
That's a secret handshake.
Yeah.
It's reaching in that pocketbook and hitting the Rumble rant.
Yeah.
We need a Rumble rant. We are on a streak. We have had a Rumble rant in every show so far. So I got to remind you, don't make us.
Brad
Don't
could
end
pull
the
out his
streak.
phone and join the...
We've had this conversation. Can't do the Rumble rant on this
Oh,
phone.
you can't do
Oh,
that?
yeah.
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
Save me a lot of money.
So plus he's the talent here today,
That's true.
loosely. Let's get into this. This is something you won't hear from anywhere else. We learned that Jesse had a push at the state central meeting, the Minnesota GOP. So just so you guys understand, like, the Republican Party of Minnesota, what does that mean, right? Like, it's an organization. Sure, it's an organization. It's got full-time staff. But what does it mean? There's 3,000 delegates and alternates, roughly, that make up the big body of the MNGOP, the Republican Party of Minnesota. There's a smaller amount of those delegates that are called state central delegates. And they're, Tucker, donation to the Brad Ganser fan club. There you go.
Love
Welcome
it.
aboard.
Love it. Thank
Yeah.
you, Tucker.
Isn't it fun to actually get to meet Brad? He's always trolling on there and giving a shit, but yeah, he is doing a good job. I agree, Dover Dan. So he's probably talking about you, MAGA Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
You did a good job. So State Central is like the 10% of that. It's like 300 some delegates that get to make more key decisions, like who's the party chairman. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the insiders club. However, a lot of you grassroots folks have gotten involved in the process and became state central delegates. For instance, wasn't Dover Dan a central delegate?
Yeah.
Dover Dan, I got to meet him for the first time. It was
Are you
very
a state
cool.
central delegate?
No.
No? Okay. You've been that before, right?
No, I've never been to
Never?
State Central.
I did back in the day. I don't like doing conventions. These guys are. So they had a meeting last weekend, and MAGA Jesse had a resolution. So tell us about the resolution you had.
Yeah, and there was a lot that went on at that state central between 40% of us voting to try to take out David Hann, between the vote. I think it was William. What was it? 134 to 144. We were 10 votes away from stripping away David Hand's pay.
Yes.
David Hand gets $100,000 a year from the donations that you donate to the MNGOP, and he gets $100,000 a year just to lose everything, to lose statewide, to lose the majority in the Senate, to lose the House. David Hand is taking full advantage of that.
For the sake of fairness and truth, because the show is called Truth Hurts, according to FEC filings, it looks like he's taken a slight pay cut.
Well, according to David Hand, who I spoke with yesterday, he told me he gets a $100,000 a year salary, and he thinks he earns it completely.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's what he said to me.
Weren't we looking at that yesterday? The FEC stuff?
Well, yeah, he's clearly they're making cuts right now.
Wasn't the motion to suspend his pay until
the debts were paid?
The convention was paid?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
so that's what happened. We'll get to your. This is a great topic conversation. Actually, Dawson,
And Carla
pull up-
Nelson in the chat as well. She was
Yeah, good to
at
see-
State Central
she
as well.
sat
Good
right
to see
next
you there,
us.
Carla.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. And that's
Yeah.
the Patriot, Carla Nelson.
The Patriot, not the crony.
Patriot.
Not
Yeah.
the state senator. Okay.
Yep.
Because there's you got to get this right. There's multiple Carla Nelsons out there, but the Patriot Carla Nelson.
Yes.
Pull up actionforlabor.com. Go to our article on this, Dawson, if you can. So
You wrote an article about it?
we're the only ones to write about this. Why?
Well, I never read it.
Well, how dare you, Brad Ganser?
Actually, we wrote such a good article. Maybe the best article.
Maybe the best.
The DFL.
A lot of people say it was a good article.
The DFL comms guy took it and shared it on Twitter.
It's that first one, Dawson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Nearly half of GOP state central delegates vote to hold Chair Han accountable. All right, so you say that there was so 40% actually wanted to toss him. Apparently that wasn't doable, they say, but they 40% wanted to toss him out as party chair. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, that doesn't come out of nowhere. 40% means that people are not happy with your leadership. People see him as a loser. People think that he's divisive. Him and others at the State Central Committee, they were all going on stage giving these speeches, promising unity. And, that's the furthest thing from what they actually want. What they really want is everybody to just fall in line with the establishment. That's not unity, and it's never anything I'm going to do.
Well, it was more than 40% of people that were displeased with Han wanted to get rid of him, but people viewed the getting rid of him as the nuclear option. I talked to a lot of people who were like, yeah, but who's going to replace him? We need to have a replacement ready. So I think there are a lot more people who'd be willing to get rid of him if there were more of a plan in place.
Right. Right, that was just an initial vote
Yeah.
right off the bat. No real big discussion on it. It was just Eric Mortensen going up there, presenting the motion. So it was just as people were getting their feet wet in the meeting. It was just as things were getting started. So,
Before I forget, I'm happy to announce that Eric Mortensen is going to be a regular on this show. I'm glad you said that because I totally forgot. So Mort's going to be in Brad's seat. And by the way, Brad, we'd love to have you more often. In that seat, so anytime. But Mort will be joining us on Thursdays, which will be awesome. So we'll have former legislator Eric
I'll gladly
Mortensen.
give my seat to Mort.
I know. You guys are two peas in a pod, man. You guys think alike. Although he could get elected.
Ooh.
You're the hardest working candidate I've ever met. No doubt.
It was fun.
I watched this guy go door to door and between doors answering a phone call with his earpiece with a voter. It's like, oh God, that guy's.
Well, I called him between doors. I called the list.
It was great.
It was,
Smart.
it was good.
You're a hustler. So then they did so let me get this straight. They had a motion to suspend David Hand's pay until he pays off the Mayo Civic Center. Is that
yep,
what?
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, it was Fred Hage of Cass County. I'm not sure if he's still the chair of Cass County. He was back in last year. But, he was the one who went up and proposed it. And considering the fact that if 5 people would have flipped their votes, it would have been a perfect tie. So if we had 6 people flip their votes, David Hand wouldn't be, getting this money anymore, which he obviously doesn't deserve. He doesn't deserve to be the chairman anymore. You don't reward losers. And in my opinion, David Hand, he's a loser.
When the Civic Center's $16K? Dude, go without pay for a couple months.
Yeah.
Get the money. It shouldn't be that big of a deal.
And spin it back just a second, too, because the people that I talked to that were in the room were saying that there were folks trying to aggressively shut down and adjourn the meeting before we got to the new business. Mm-hmm. Did that happen?
Well, you
That
know,
always happens.
what happened at the end was there were some people like Dave and Amanda Hughes who wanted to ask questions of Han. They wanted to ask about the caucuses. And, Dave Hughes went up there and asked about a change in the law. David Han, I'm not sure if he was playing dumb or if he is dumb, but David Han said, I've never heard of this, and I'll have to look into it.
Because there have been changes to the caucus law, correct?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And
nobody knows about that, though.
Yeah, and especially not David Han, I guess. So, and as of yesterday, he still hadn't looked into it. So that's the guy in charge.
I literally just got an email from David Han. This is not
to
like
you or
not like me specifically. By the way, we'll get into. But you guys will enjoy this. You're going to tell us about a 1-on-1, 2-on-1. It's supposed to be a 1-on-1.
2-on-1
conversation I had with David Han last night. I'm going to forward this to you, Dawson, so we can read it together because this is he's literally just sent this out explaining State Central meeting. I haven't even read this yet, so we'll read it together. But I think the context here is the state party does a convention in May at the Mayo Civic Center. Now, I was a delegate, right? I thought there were some people that should have got elected for state office, and that person wasn't Scott Jensen. That's why I went to that convention. I paid $110, I think. It's ridiculous. $110. I got to give up a freaking weekend to sit in the convention hall and pay $110. I don't like doing these things, but whatever. I did it. I expected my $110 to clear the bill for the Mayo Civic Center.
Yeah.
So they've stiffed the Mayo Civic Center right now. That to me is very non-prudent financially.
3,000 people times 110.
Raised a lot of money off of us delegates going to that convention. It's up. All right. So, and that, by the way, that was a 52 to 48% vote. So nearly, and I don't know why people wouldn't do it. It's a black guy in the Republican Party. If you care about the Republican brand, don't stiff the Mayo Civic Center. Mm-hmm. Oh, before we get to that, and apparently he lied about that. He told the State Central, because you guys told me this on Monday, that he told the committee that they didn't get that bill till January. I'm like, no, I saw it on their report.
Yep, October 1st.
Yeah, well, it probably came before that. I can't imagine.
Right, that's when it's labeled on the filing at least.
Right, so they lie about that. All right, so this is from Chairman David Han. On Saturday, should I read it like him? On Saturday, August 12th, the state Senate. You don't want me to do that? Okay.
That's spot on, though.
He's got a very soft voice.
It's a long email.
It is a long email. The Meta at Elk River High School. By the way, they charge you $50 to attend a high school, right?
Yeah.
Times 300. So what's
well,
that?
Plus the guests were 75.
So what are they doing with all that money? Like pay to play, right?
The bill.
Yeah. One requirements for SEC to do that. Boring stuff. Our rules are provide reports. At the meeting we heard from Representative Walter Hudson. You guys keep telling me that Walter covering for the establishment these days. We're saying there's no establishment. Walter.
Yeah, he gave a lame speech.
Oh, Walter.
Yeah. I was not inspired.
Stop, Walter. You know there's an establishment. But we'll have you on the show if you want to defend that there's not. I like Walter, by the way. I've known Walter for a decade. What?
Sorry. I think Noel made a Brad Ganser fan club Rumble account. He announced that he's officially rumbling.
That's hilarious. We heard from, speaking of the Minnesota House, Senator John Jasinski, representing the Minnesota Senate, Congressman Tom Emmer. Let's see here. Our organization has made progress, but we have not received our goal. 30 years ago, Republicans only held Well, like literally nothing from this. See, this is the other thing. He's so lame.
How could you say so much without saying anything at all? Like I quickly skimmed over it. I'm like, he didn't say anything.
He says nothing. They are the absolute worst at messaging. And then they got the Elephant Club where they hear from Ari Fleischer. Yay. Inspired.
They've extended the deadline to sign up, too. You know what that means.
Yeah.
It means they're waiting for us to sign up.
Well, apparently CD2's got a hot event tonight. They got Ron Johnson, Senator Ron Johnson coming.
I'll be going to that.
Are you going to that?
I'm going to that.
Nice.
Got to leave a little bit early, actually, to make it.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah,
coach-
well,
gotta
what a
coach
bummer
football.
that David Hand didn't want to notify the Republicans of the passage of a very good resolution proposed by me. So, Dawson, yeah, go ahead and pull up the Trump resolution because,
That's actually a great point, though. What Meg Jesse saying
yeah,
is right.
why is David
Why
Hand not
give a
talking
lame
about
message and not talk about the great resolution that just passed?
That's
Probably
right.
the best resolution we've ever seen.
it? It maybe is. So, yeah, and I got a copy here. So it says, the resolution condemning the Banana Republic indictments against President Donald J. Trump. So this was the original version that I submitted. Whereas President Donald J. Trump has been subjugated to phony witch hunts and indictments to attack his 2024 campaign, whereas never in American history has a former president or the leading candidate for president been indicted, especially for lies and made-up crimes. Whereas dirty politics by the deep state should not target political opponents, whereas Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith, and Fani Willis are corrupt lawyers doing the bidding of the deep state, whereas we the people must fight to save America and demolish the Banana Republic, whereas the State Central Committee of the MNGOP stands in support of President Donald J. Trump and against all the fraudulent indictments and crimes, whereas the State Central Committee of the MNGOP will fully support
And
President
charges, by
Donald
the
J.
way.
Trump.
And charges, you said.
Yep,
Not
and
crimes.
charges.
Yeah.
Will fully support President Donald J. Trump if he is the nominee, whereas this resolution does not bind the party or issue an endorsement. It is a statement condemning the deep state and witch hunts against President Donald J. Trump. Therefore, be it resolved that the State Central Committee of the MNGOP officially condemns any and all Banana Republic indictments against President Donald J.
Now,
Trump.
what was the reaction to that when you read that?
Thunderous applause. People loved
liked
it.
What happened
And,
afterwards?
So what happened with this resolution, there were different people going up there. Everybody had an amendment. Everybody wants to change something. So first they changed the words Banana Republic to politically motivated. And then there was an amendment, I think, specifically to get rid of Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith, and Fani Willis. They wanted to get rid of that line because they said this could cause us problems. We don't want to say that they're corrupt lawyers doing the bidding of the deep state because I guess they thought that might cause legal problems. I thought there's no problem at all.
Tell
with-
the truth, huh?
yeah, exactly. Then there was another amendment where they decide basically just to wipe out the entire thing and only
delete
to
all.
keep the last sentence. Here, let me get the confirmed
So
language
the
here.
resolution is literally not called that anymore? Well, I
No,
guess
it's
it
still
doesn't-
got the same. Yeah, well, yeah.
It
and
says
they,
Banana Republic on it? Or
no, they changed that to politically motivated.
Okay.
So I remember some guy got up to the mic and he said, "By the way, that's not how you spell Banana Republic." I looked it up. I'm like, "Well, how do you spell?"
Yeah,
Banana
exactly. I
Republic?
wasn't sure what he was trying to say either. He was just a hater.
You,
He was. You could see it.
No,
You
he
could
was
see it on his face.
you
You
should
know.
have gone, no, there's
You
a
know-
Nikki Haley supporter. The one. I
Yeah.
knew there was one in here.
Right. No.
Well, I
and-
think I know who that guy. You know the guy. I'll tell you
yeah.
afterwards.
No, I know.
Can I say it on it?
No, it doesn't
not?
matter.
It's Kevin
well-
Poindexter who got up there and said
gosh.
it. Yeah,
I don't know if it was him, but
pretty sure it was him.
let's see here.
I like.
Why
him.
are we trying to protect that name?
What? I don't know. We're not in the
So
business
what
of
was the,
doxing.
as you're looking it up, what was the vote totals?
Doxing. Doxing,
So
you gotta
with
give 'em an
for
address.
the for this Trump
Oh,
resolution, I don't think that
personal details.
anybody called division on it, so I don't think that there was actually vote totals. But after the amendments were done, and it was stripped down just to, and here's what the resolution states: the State Central Committee of the MNGOP officially condemns any and all politically motivated indictments against President Donald J. Trump. So that was the official language that got passed. I was fine with that. I understood that whatever, if these amendments are going to make it easier for people to vote for this, I think that's fine. But
Did anyone oppose it?
yeah, there were definitely people saying no, and including the RNC committeeman, Mr. Establishment Alex Pleshrash himself. He was he was up there to spread some BS and lies. That guy. I mean, if people don't know, he's a never Trumper. He's an anti-Trumper. He's a rhino, and I don't mind saying that. So, yeah, it went great. The Trump resolution passed, and I thought about time, because the reason I felt like I even had to introduce something like that was because the MNGOP has been totally silent, deafening
that's the important
silence,
thing.
Yep.
as as Trump's home was raided, as the charges were coming in, as the indictments were coming in. Where was the MNGOP? Silent. And I even told David Hand yesterday. I told him that the silence makes people like me think that you are anti-Trump. The silence indicates that you don't want Trump to be the nominee, and it appears that the MNGOP has totally abandoned him after 2020. So I was happy that we were able to get the resolution passed, and it shows that the grassroots of Minnesota and the State Central Committee, we're Trump people. We're Trump people.
Is your fishing friend, does he live in Texas?
Yeah,
Oh, so that's who started the Brad Ganser fan club?
that's where I go
Okay.
to catch the real fish.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, allegedly.
Yeah.
Your one friend lives in
My one
Texas.
friend,
All
yes,
Mm-hmm.
says come to Texas and fish, and
All
I
right.
say yes.
So yesterday you had an interview. So this is a funny story.
Yeah.
So the Republican Party, well, they needed to relaunch their operations. They got to change things up. So they hire a new executive director. What's her name?
Anna Matthews.
Anna Matthews from Emmer's World, right? And they want to do one-on-one meetings. So I was like, oh, this is hilarious. I'm going to sign up. Let's see what they say. Jesse signs up. I thought, like, there's no way they're going to do it. And they reach out to me the other day. Now, tell me the venue changed. They moved to a library last minute. But they say, yeah, just want to confirm you're going to be there. Well, I was so busy yesterday, but Jesse wasn't, so we'll get to his story. So anyhow, I'm chatting or texting with Anna Matthews, and they allegedly would like to meet. And I go, well, okay, first of all, what's the point of me meeting with David Hand in private? I think it's owed to you guys to hear the conversation. Okay? Mm-hmm. What's that, Dawson?
I didn't hear him say anything.
That was a loud yawn. So am I hearing things?
You might be. I didn't hear nothing.
I didn't hear anything.
Maybe I just saw him go. So anyhow, that was very bizarre. We're not connected. So anyhow, I invited him to come on the show, and I have no idea if they will. But I think that'd be good entertainment. Now, I personally think he owes it to you guys to come on the show, and I will be courteous. We're gonna get into some stuff. There's no doubt we're gonna get into some stuff because that guy's lied about this organization, lied about us. But we can have a conversation. I think you should come on the show. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comment section. So the invitation, we made the invitation on air, and you told me that yesterday they alluded to they do watch the show, Jesse.
That's what
correct?
Anna Matthews said.
There
Anna
you go.
Matthews said, oh, it's nice to meet you
I
in
would
person.
even go so far, Jake, if we ever want to win another election statewide in Minnesota, he has to come on the show.
He has to come on the
He
show. This
has
is the
to.
problem with
So
David
true.
Hand and his ilk, okay? All right? He's establishment. That's what he is. He's anti-grassroots. It's so clear. We got so much evidence. You guys know this stuff. So if he wants to win an election, you got to go to the base first. They hate Action for Liberty. Why? Because we talk to the base. Now, they lie and say we only attack Republicans. Ridiculous thing to say. But you got to go. You got to win over the base. We're not just going to be blind and say, yeah, the party's great. At least they're not Democrats. Red team, red team. No, we're going to tell you the truth. So if he wants to win over the base, he's got to come on the show.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yes.
Otherwise, what do we do? I'm not going to do a private meeting with you. But anyhow, Jesse did a private meeting. So let's talk about your private meeting. You drove up to St. Cloud last night for a one-on-one with David Hand. Apparently, it ended up being a two-on-one. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, it was a 2-on-1. I get in there, and there's David Hand and Anna Matthews. They're ready to tag team against me. Anna Matthews, she's there to be the buffer. She's there to waste time, and you could just feel the awkwardness. You could see that David Hand don't want to talk with me. He was probably hoping I wouldn't show. And so there I am, she's starting the conversation off, and I tell her right off the bat, I'll be honest with you. Most of my questions are for David Hand. But, that didn't stop her from interrupting me a million times, and I kind of had to tell her a couple times, hey, let's keep on moving here. I don't need your take on everything. And one of the first things I went into was the Trump resolution, pointing out the flaws with the MNGOP and their silence on Trump. Then after that, I asked him
What
about
is
his
his
salary.
explanation for that? Because it is bizarre. Like,
Just a denial. It's just a denial. He says, oh no, we didn't abandon Trump in 2020, and it's like it sure seems like
Well,
it.
wait,
but
no, but what
now,
about the
why aren't they
resolutions?
saying something now? Like, it's the base in Minnesota, and we've got some anecdotal evidence, so not scientific polling, right? From Scott County, I think it was where we found out. But like, literally the base is about what the national polls are showing, like heavily Trump favoritism.
Yeah, no, and
60%
so I
or
asked
whatever.
him what his opinion was on it, and then after beating around the bush, Anna Matthews jumps in. Well, he's not allowed to have an opinion, and it's like, oh, okay, so he's not gonna answer anything then. Let's see. Then I went into some of the problems at the state convention. I said, was that the first time that you learned about the caucuses with Dave Hughes presenting it on the caucus floor, on the convention floor? He said, yes. I said, how is that the first time? This is your job. How do you not know these things? He said, well, I can't know everything. I said, oh, okay, well, have you looked into it since? No. He hasn't looked into it since. And then same thing when Amanda Hughes went up there and she was asking questions about the Jennifer Carnahan lawsuit. David Hand, no answer. He didn't want to divulge it. That's what he told us in State Central. I'm not going to divulge into it. Well, we want to know an answer. We want to know what the status is. We want to know how much money you're spending on it. We want to know the financial status. So I also confronted him, asked him, so what do you think it says if 40% of the delegates tried to remove you? And of course he wasn't answering very much, but Anna Matthews says to me, she says, well, that means 60% of the state central endorses him. And I said, no, that's not what that means. That means that 60% didn't stand up to remove him right then at that meeting. That's not an endorsement of him. Because as William was just saying, there were some people that, they weren't necessarily willing to make that move, but they're ready to get rid of Hand themselves. So that was, an interesting thing. And she was, there to, like I said, be the buffer. Then maybe we should pull up my resolution of Scott Jensen, because that ties into the next section of what I talked with David Hand about.
Forgot you mentioned that.
Yep. So I proposed a censure of Scott Jensen at the State Central Committee, and that was voted down 113 to 193. But that's still a sizable amount of for 113 delegates at that State Central to consider censuring Scott Jensen. I think it's a big deal, and unfortunately, a lot of the delegates didn't even know what the word censure meant. I was hearing all these idiots, so we don't need to censor Scott Jensen, taking away his First Amendment right.
Oh, really?
So,
I thought it meant...
Yeah, no, there was a bunch of that, and then
funny.
and then also people were saying, "What, you believe the Star Tribune?" I said he wrote the
He
op-ed.
has an editorial
Yeah,
written by him.
Jensen wrote the op-ed. I'm not saying
Well, not
the
just
Star
that, but he's
Tribune.
been going around interviewing everybody about the same position.
Yeah.
Like, he's not being coy about it.
Wait. Jensen's going around interviewing people?
Yeah, he went on Michael Broadcorp's show, and he also did, I believe he did an Alpha News interview.
Oh, I thought you meant like he was interviewing people. Like, what do
Sorry,
you think
he's
of,
doing interviews with people.
Yeah.
Did he go in Alpha?
Pretty sure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm not
Either
sure.
that or he wrote an op-ed saying something similar.
In Alpha? Are you sure?
Yeah,
about
we
that?
talked about this.
No, I thought they just wrote about how the Star Tribune. Are you
Oh,
sure?
maybe.
Yeah, I don't think you wrote an op-ed for them. That'd be interesting.
Okay, but yeah, so here's what it says. Whereas Scott Jensen is to be censured by the MNGOP State Central Committee for lying to voters and flip-flopping on abortion. Whereas Scott Jensen campaigned during the caucuses, state convention, and primary as pro-life, as a pro-life, anti-abortion candidate, and stated on multiple occasions that he would ban abortions. Whereas in the general election, Scott Jensen continually repeated the dishonest talking point that suggested that Minnesota has a constitutional right to abortions. Whereas Scott Jensen wrote an op-ed in the Star Tribune on June 24th, 2023, in support of abortion, a position he has likely held for a long time, considering his previous internship at Planned Parenthood. Had to throw that one in there. Whereas Scott Jensen lied to voters about his position on abortion and changed his stance as was convenient with the political winds. Therefore, be it resolved that Scott Jensen is censured by the MNGOP State Central Committee. So, like I mentioned, that one I understood wasn't going to pass, and I was all right with that. I kind of just wanted the statement to be out there, just so people were at least questioning Scott Jensen and wondering what went on, and just to get a feel for the room and just see how many of us want to do something about this. And for there to be 113, that's a decent chunk of people.
Yeah, but you said this had something to do with your interview with
Right.
Hand. So what's
So
that?
then, after going through a lot of the things that happened at State Central with David Hand, I asked him, "Is it your opinion that Minnesota has a constitutional right to abortion?" And he said, no, of course not. And I said, well, then why did you send an email out that said specifically that? Because everybody knows that David Hand sent out an email to Republican candidates demanding that they use the poll-tested talking point that says that abortion up to the moment of birth is a constitutionally protected right. And then when I presented that very same email to his face, he said, no, I said the court said that. I said, no. And then I read word for word. Nowhere in there did he say that's what the courts were saying. He was saying that was his position. And so he was trying to backtrack out of that every which way. Then he tried to blame Scott Jensen and said that, well, we were all just trying to follow what Scott Jensen wanted. And I said, just because Scott Jensen's wrong doesn't mean that everybody else needs to follow suit. And I asked him, so where in the Constitution is there a right to abortion up to the moment of birth? He said, well, that's what the courts determine. I said, well, where in the Constitution? Where in the Constitution? He had no answer, obviously. So I asked him, I said, is that the agenda that you would hope Republicans would implement if we had won a majority? He said, no. And I said, well, that's what you're telling them to do. So
Dawson, pull up F10 there. I'm going to, as soon as you said that, I realized we had written an article on this. By the way, D. Kalush says at our booth at County Fair, it was 68% Trump.
Yeah, that was at the Washington County Fair.
Mm-hmm. This is what David Hand said. Was this dated? September of last year. And he's saying to basically, well, I'll just read it. As we gear up for the final stretch election season, the Democrats and the media will continue to try and bait you with questions about issues, most particularly abortion. This bait you. Well, that's a legitimate question people had. The state party and key stakeholders have developed and tested the following message, making this the official MNGOP statement response on abortion. If asked, the party recommends that you answer the question as follows. Here are the facts. Abortion up to the moment of birth is a protected constitutional right in Minnesota. The only two ways this can be changed are by the Minnesota Supreme Court overturning the existing law or by Minnesota voters passing a state referendum. That is an inaccurate statement. That is not a factual statement. It's nowhere in the Constitution. So you're saying he lied to you and said that he didn't say that?
Right.
Like literally
exactly.
what he said.
No, exactly. That's exactly what he was saying to me. He was saying, no, I said the court said that. And I said, well, I've got your email right in front of me. I can read for myself. And then I, just kept going on with him after it became clear that, he wasn't going to admit to the lie. I pointed out how, first I forced him to agree to the terms of what a chair is, meaning that you're supposed to be fair pre-endorsement to all the candidates. You support the endorsed candidate in the primary. You support the Republican candidate in the general election, and then you help push a conservative agenda. He said, yes, I agree that that's what the role of the chair is. I said, perfect. Well, that's not what you did, because you cut off data access on these 5 different candidates, 5 candidates who are running against establishment people, sometimes incumbent politicians. And so I was telling him, that he was damaging, the reputation of the Republican Party by pulling stunts like that. And he had a million excuses in the world for that. The one thing I did get him to semi-concede on was about Tony Jurgens and how Tony Jurgens is the reason for a Democratic Senate. He said that Tony Jurgens was part of the reason, and he wasn't really defensive of him. So that was a little bit nice to see and nice to deal with. But
well, did you bring up that he called our previous BPOU chair and said not to censure?
Yeah, I didn't say that though.
Okay.
No, because he was mainly in agreement. He just wasn't willing to say things like I was saying them. Then I went into, the Senate Victory Fund, the HRCC, and how all of these different Republican groups were supporting unendorsed candidates, unendorsed rhinos, over conservative endorsed candidates, and he was saying, well, I have nothing to do with that. I said, you're the chairman of the party. You're saying that
bullshit.
Yeah, of course. And I said, you could call up your good buddy Kurt Doubt. You could call up your good buddies from the state Senate, and you could tell them that, they should not be endorsing or supporting any unendorsed candidates from the Republican Party. And, both between, Anna Matthews just chirping at every second, anything that I had to say. I'd specifically address David. I'd say,
first of all,
David, let me ask you a question. Then here's Anna. Well, let me jump in there.
Why is she doing that? I thought it was a one-on-one. That's the whole point of them, is a one-on-one with David Hand.
That's what exactly.
So is she doing most of the talking then?
For the most part, I mean, and it was maybe about half and half because I kept directing it back to David. And she's sitting there telling me she's only been around for 8 days. If you've only been around for 8 days, I don't need to hear from you because you obviously don't understand the dynamics. And she's been around in Minnesota politics longer than that. Obviously, if she's involved with Tom Emmer, but I don't need to hear how David Hand handled a situation from Anna Matthews. I'd rather David Hand himself tell me. So. Then we went into unity talk. We talked about how,
Yeah, I know. That's what I always love is, we need unity. Oh, whatever. You take every shot at conservative grassroots operatives all the time. You don't believe in unity.
Yep, and I told him, when you look at the examples of Kitson County and what they did to them and making them unrecognized for the state central previously, when you look at what they did to Otter Tail County, kicking out 33 delegates, 33 duly elected conservative delegates just because they allegedly supported Nathan Miller. And then also when you see what happened in Morrison County, delegate list being manipulated, Ron Creech's wife all of a sudden shows up on the list. She wasn't at the caucus, but she's allowed to go. That's the kind of stuff that I told him. That's why the grassroots doesn't trust you. That's why we support candidates and campaigns and not the party, because he can't be trusted. David Hand is totally, like I said, he's a born loser. And when you shut out the voices of delegates like this, when you shut out the conservative grassroots base, that's why the people don't trust the party. And I had to explain that to him as if he doesn't already know. Then we went into, if you really want unity, why are you trashing Action for Liberty? Why are you spreading these smears and these attacks and these emails about Action for Liberty? Why are you targeting the number one conservative group in the state of Minnesota? And it's obviously because we're probably a threat in some way to
What
them.
do you have to say about it?
Well, he was saying that, the reason that Action for Liberty is so bad is because all they do is go after Republicans. We've heard that one before. That's the establishment talking point. It's the number one talking point of the Rhino establishment class.
We had this is a funny story. There's a state senator that got the business from one of our big supporters. And he's like, you need to get on board with what Action for Liberty is saying. And the state senator responds back to him. And by the way, he's forwarding him the email of our dump walls state fair sign. And the state senator responds back, the Republican state senator responds back, he goes, Action for Liberty is no good. They only attack Republicans. He says this to one of our big supporters who forwarded him our booth saying dump walls.
Yeah.
It's like, do you even listen to yourself at this point? Like,
right.
Yeah, this is why no one trusts you.
Yeah,
you keep lying to their face. And some of these people actually kind of know you're lying to them.
Well, it's the St. Paul groupthink. That's
It
where
is,
it all
yeah.
comes from. I think it's all of these politicians when they get in those caucus rooms, when they get in those, private one-on-one conversations with each other, they're all trash and Action for Liberty. And, for him to say that lie, that all Action for Liberty does is go after Republicans, number one, all you have to do is go to the website and click on the articles, click on the news, and just start reading through, because if there's anybody going after Lee Finke, it's us.
Yeah.
Where is David Hand
is David Hand
on
banned?
Finke?
Yeah, I
where
wonder
is
if he's
David
even
Hand
banned by
on
Lee
Stinky Finke? Nowhere.
I said that very same thing
Yeah.
yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I said go to the website and look who they're attacking. And
Yep.
then I pointed out the drunk guy. I
Yeah.
forget who it
Oh,
was.
Dan
Oh,
Waldemar.
Dan
Yeah.
Waldemar?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and then the room that we were in, that was the same room that I called Eric Putnam out in. It happened to be at the same exact library. And that was when we were talking about gun rights with Eric Putnam and, letting the voters of the district know that he's a radical Democrat who is voting in line with every single gun control idea. And I said, what about when I was in this room calling out Eric Putnam? What about when I was door knocking against Eric Putnam? What about when I was door knocking against Judy Seeberger? What about when I was door knocking against Matt Norris? Listened through a couple of these people, and I said, how do you explain that? If Action for Liberty just goes after Republicans, what was I doing? What was I doing then? Because it seems like I was, going against the Democrats and the Democratic agenda. And, So he had a couple of things to say about Action for Liberty, but not very much because
He didn't have a response to that.
Yeah, not very much because and mainly it was Anna Matthews butting herself into the conversation where in a conversation that really she didn't belong in, and it's I'm not saying that to be mean to her. I mean, obviously she's new to the job, wish her the best, but if you're getting hired by Han and you're working in tandem with him and you're sitting there playing cover for him in a meeting that's supposed to be a one-on-one, I mean, that just shows you're a tool of the establishment.
Yeah, she gave me a call. I tried calling her back. I even texted her, and it's been like 2 weeks. She hasn't gotten back to me.
Meaning because you're a BPOU chairman? Is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually got guilt. They recruited him or someone. Basically, no one run their BPOU, so he became the BPOU
Yeah, they
chairman.
nominated me from the floor. And
Wait a second. If I only attack Republicans, why don't I attack you?
Were you there?
Oh, maybe that's what they're referring to is when I give
Were
you
you
crap
there
about
when
Barbie.
they nominated
yeah,
you?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be worse.
I didn't get a phone call. Hey, we elected you chair.
That's what they're referred to. I go after him for loving Barbie, so I'm attacking a Republican.
And Taylor Swift.
And Taylor
Yeah.
Swift.
Yeah.
No, but overall, that basically sums up the meeting that I had with David Han, and I was tough. I'm not going to say I was being rude or anything. I don't think I was being rude or nasty to him in any way. I was being very tough and maybe a little bit sarcastic sometimes when I'm asking him if he really thinks he earned that money, if he really thinks he's worth $100,000 a year, because I told him I don't think you are. And you look at the other state chairs all around this country, all the other Republican state chairs. Fred Hage at the convention said only 5 of them are paid. And, you look at other states where, super successful Republican parties where, they don't take a dime. So the end of the conversation was basically a little tense, a little awkward. I said, I'm sure this was a little confrontational, but these are the kind of conversations that need to be had if we want to win. Shook their hands on the way out. David Han, obviously, he didn't want to shake my hand. I had to force
really?
that one.
Seriously?
Oh, of course
You
not,
refused
man.
to shake your hand?
No, he shook my hand, but you could see he didn't want to. He didn't want to have the conversation with me in the first place. So, the entire thing was just a tense, awkward meeting that I had to turn the heat up on for.
You should have done the Trump handshake, the power handshake, where he grabs the hand and
pull it in. That would have been good to do to
Let's
David.
go to comments here. What do we got?
Bad Hat Harry says, great graphics, Dawson. You should pop up the rants when they come through just like that. Agreed. I think we need a little pop-up graphic on there.
It might be a little harder than
I don't know what he's talking about.
like the pop up on screen. I'm guessing is what he's saying, like the Twitter
Oh,
thing.
And this is as
these
close
guys.
as we're probably going to get.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
Okay.
Which you should follow us on Twitter, by the way.
Yep.
What else we got?
Billy22 says SVF is suing Edwin Hahn, former chairman of Clay County BPOU. Is the SVF suing him, or is the I knew the party was trying to get him to cease and desist from.
Hey, listen, it's all the same people. It's a Republican establishment.
Not according to David Han. He has no authority and no power to talk to the Senate.
Well,
Victory
it is-
Fund.
They get their credentials or whatever you call it from the party.
Yeah, exactly.
It is important to make the distinctions because, again, you make this point all the time where the truth hurts, so we should get the facts right. But there is no doubt a connection there.
What is this guy
Whoa,
doing?
whoa! I'll say something, then you'll come
Oh,
in
now
like
I'm
that.
attacking Republicans.
Let's see.
Well, no,
Dover-
you're just making a distinction, but it's like the party. What's the word I look for? Confirms the establishment of the SVF,
Well,
which
it's
is a
important to make-
subsidiary of the party.
It's important to make the distinction because if someone doesn't know that there's a difference, they'll accept the establishment talking point that, oh, that's a separate organization. So it's important that everyone gets the
That's
information
the establishment
beforehand.
talking point you just said.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
let's
they
go to-
are. They are.
We got to wrap
Yeah,
up.
no,
Go
that's what they were
comments here.
saying as well during that meeting as well. Well, it's separate. We have nothing to do with it.
So it's good to know the argument there.
Yeah.
Dover Dan says the chair seemed like he was trying to protect Han. He would try to answer for him and play it off like he didn't know if the question was directed at Han. Dan Kalush, you read this one. At our county fair, it was 68% Trump. By the way, Dan, I know you have some state fair dates in mind. Let's chat after the show. What else do I want to read? Byron of Sidious says, as a side note, along these lines, can you guys recommend someone who could please get Jess Hansen the heck out?
Wouldn't that be nice?
I don't know.
A lot of Democrats that need to get get kicked out of office.
Yeah.
That's
Is that a
Burnsville?
Democrat?
Yeah, Burnsville
Okay.
area or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Tucker says demanding answers is not being rude. True.
Yeah.
And then Billy says the SVF is a slush fund for incumbents. They pass money back and forth. You can go on.
That's
Yes,
very
that's
true.
Well,
true.
you know,
Yeah,
I'll
well,
tell you what-
no, but we got to just make sure that everyone understands they're separate. That's 100% right. The money flows to and from the Republican Party, right?
Right, and that's why we gotta say that. You can't just say they're the
I
same
know, but you
organization.
like throwing this over my
Yeah.
head. It's like, oh, the
And-
truth hurts. We can't.
And yeah, but I
You've
agree
been
with what
doing
Tucker's.
that
I agree with what Tucker's saying there because
Come on,
he's saying.
can I have some fun here, William? Jeez.
he's- but I agree with what Tucker's saying. He's saying demanding answers is not rude, but I'll be honest. I was accused by David Hand of being rude, of being argumentative and whatnot,
Yeah,
because
he
he
might be-
said
that
that
might
you
be
know
true.
he said you don't show me any respect, and you want me to show respect to you, and he after I called him divisive, he said, well, and you aren't. I said, I'm not the chair, and it's not my job to it's his job to be unifying. It's his job to bring
Great
people
point.
together. And if 40% of the state central committee don't like you, that means you're not doing a good job. Really,
Well-
think about it. At state central, it should be like 90% approval, right?
Well, these
Everybody should
insiders
just
are the
agree. Like, yeah,
insiders.
the chair's a good guy. He runs things fairly. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be even like a Liberty person or anything. It's just that guy's fair.
Yeah, and can keep the party moving in the right direction.
Right, and
Clearly
win.
lost.
And win.
Well, listen, here's the deal. Let's have them on the show. You got the offer, guys. I don't think they're going to come on the show.
And apparently they watched the show too. So
And that's what they say.
They
may
should
see
come
this
on the
invite.
show, okay?
Well, I don't think David Hand didn't say he watches it, but Anna Matthews said she
All right, well,
said she does. So
there's no
be
benefit.
careful for her though. She
The
likes
reason
to
I like
talk.
doing one-on-ones is that way if they get the business like you gave them, it's minimal damage. There's no one else around, right? So it's not. I think you guys are owed this conversation. And was it you, Brad, that made the point?
Yeah.
It needs to happen.
30 statewide elections in a row we've lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
So listen, we could be a huge ally. Let's get on, but we gotta discuss this. We gotta talk it out. All right. So are you a big enough man to come on the show, David Hand? Let us know. By the way, I'll also come on any show you want me to and discuss these things.
The David Hand show. Or maybe he'll feature you in the newsletter that no one reads.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Welcome to another
so
episode
much,
of
so many
Rhinos.
comments on that. Yes. We got to run. I got a call at 2:30. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all your comments, for tuning in every week, even if you're watching after the fact. Join us if you can, 1 o'clock Tuesdays and Thursdays live, because it's so much fun being part of the live show.
It
All
is.
these people comment. It's so much fun. And Brad, thank you for joining us for the first time. I don't think this will be the last.
It was awesome.
It is so cool to have you here.
Yeah, and thank you to all the people that went to State Central. We're
Yes.
we're brothers in arms now. We're ready to go. We're fighters. So yeah,
Right.
no, I think we'll see what happens for the next State Central. But I got some plans.
We'll leave it right there. I don't know what that means. He's got plans, guys. I can only imagine what those resolutions will be like. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on Thursday. Take care.